Welcome to the Watering Hole. One of my very first memories of listening to music comes from my grandmother. During the summers, I would stay at her house, and during the day, we'd do chores and listen to country music. And she had a profound impact on my music taste, even today. And I think that's where a lot of my passion for music and doing these interviews comes from. And she would play anywhere from Johnny Cash to Merle Haggard and Ronnie Millsap. And then since I grew up in the 2000s, she would play Kenny Chesney, Toby Keith, and our guest today, Mr. Joe Nichols.
Well, I like your grandma.
Yeah, she was a great lady. She was a very, very big country music lover, and you were one of her favorite artists, and she would play you all the time. So
that's awesome. I'm honored by that. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time today to sit down today, and
appreciate you.
We're honored.
It's a hot one out there, and you're wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, I've spent a little time inside today. This is kind of my travel through airports look, my lounging around look. So, I didn't expect to be outside a lot today.
Yeah, for sure. When you're out and about, being a notable artist and being famous, obviously, do you have kind of like an incognito look when you go to the airport or anything like that?
You're looking at it.
Yeah,
that's kind of it.
Yeah, got the shades on just to try to lay low a little bit.
Yeah, at most, shades. I think everybody's pretty cool. Nobody causes a big stir. You got to kind of be a big country fan to really know who I am anyway. So just walking through airports, usually people don't take time enough to really study. Yeah, he isn't that guy. By the time they put it together, I've already walked by him or whatever.
Already through the gate.
Yeah, that's right. But everybody's pretty cool about it. Everybody that usually comes up and says something or wants a picture or whatever, they're really cool about it and discreet. But it's all right. We try to do whatever we can. I don't have bothered by any of that.
Yeah.
Do you remember? This wasn't on the topic of my discussion here, but since you brought it up, do you remember the first time you got recognized in public, or the first interaction where you were like, wow, they like my music or know who I am?
Funny story. The first time that sticks out, I was coming home to Nashville. I was in an airport. I flew in, and it was when The Impossible was my first single had gotten out there quite visible. It was climbing in the top 20, and I don't know if y'all know how the record business works, but when you start out as an artist, you really don't make any money for a while. Mm-hmm. Everything's kind of very tight budget. You're borrowing money from people really to get going. So you don't, there's no, all of a sudden you're rich or anything like that, even though you're highly visible everywhere. And I was stopping on my way home. I was in the airport, and I walked over to the ATM that's in the airport before I got my baggage. And, I'm putting my card in, and the guy behind me taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Hey, man, you're that new guy with that new song, Impossible. Just saw your video. Love your music. It's really great." And I was like, wow, I think you're the first person that's kind of noticed me like that. And I think that's pretty incredible. I'm kind of a big deal. All right, this is cool. And I turned back around and put in my PIN code to get some money out and said insufficient funds. And the guy saw that, and he's like, "Man, do you need some money?"
Oh, no.
I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. It's just one of those humbling moments, Just when I thought I was getting a little bit of a big head, the Lord was like, "Not yet."
Yeah. It seems like we have a way of being humbled just as soon as we think we're really something.
That's exactly right. Apply that through 360 degrees of your life, because that is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Just when you think it's as good as it can get, or maybe you're the reason everything's as good as it can get, maybe not.
So you're originally from Northwest Arkansas, correct? Rogers, is that right? So we actually grew up about 30 minutes away, just on the other side of the border in Northeast Oklahoma. Little Kansas is where I'm originally from.
I rode where at?
Little Kansas.
Little Kansas. I rode my first and only bull, in a place called Tick Hill. You know where Tick Hill's at?
I don't.
It's up by Miami.
Okay,
Miami.
yeah.
So all those little bitty rodeos up there where you get about 75 people together, brothers and sisters and uncles included, where you have about 8 to 10 bull riders and a couple of ropers and a couple of steer wrestlers, and that's a little bitty rodeo that we used to have over there. And about 6 or 8 of us that had the courage to go up there and ride, 6 or 8 mean bulls
Yeah.
to whatever cattle farmer around there had them.
Yeah.
That's where we'd go act like idiots. And that was my rodeoing days right there.
So did you do any other events in the rodeo, like before bull riding or after, or just the one bull?
Just the one bull. I'd practice for 4 or 6 months after high school. I'd go to a friend of mine's house. We had a place we'd go and we'd do the barrel, that was on the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have buddies that would, do all the practicing the motions and everything like that. We're going to work on this, hard rights, rolls, all this kind of stuff. And we do everything, like training, for a sporting event. We did that for several months and got up to my big moment. And I'm like, all right, I got this big old bull. Looks pretty mean. I'm going to do this. And 2 guys in front of me that were in line, we'd already drawn our bulls and everything. This guy got on this big thing with these big horns that come back up here like this. And he got down in the chute. And man, this bull reared up and smacked him right across the face with one of them horns, and it just blood went everywhere. It kind of went on all of us, and this guy, half his face was just crushed in, and it was one of those, okay, well, that's possible. And the guy in front of me, he's like, all right, and they turned the bull out, and they pulled this guy out of there, and he was, in bad shape. Yeah. And this guy rode his bull, did okay. And right before I got down on my bull, this guy was like tapping me on the shoulder, like, hey man, I never got a chance to ride. And this guy's face is still just mangled. Like, I never got a chance to get on my bull. It's my turn. And I'm like, man, you need to see a paramedic. You need stitches and to get whatever pieces of that horn that are stuck in your face.
Yeah.
Fix the damn blood that's gushing out of your head before you want to ride a bull, man. But he was determined. But I had to tell him, dude, back of the line, man. If they got another bull for the ride, maybe you can remount that one. I don't know, but
yeah.
But I rode that with that in the back of my mind, just like my head was up a little bit this way. We were tying on, and I'm like, all right, just make it out of this chute so I can get a good, balanced ride here. And we fired out of there, and that bull acted a little funny, and it kind of did this low dance thing, and then popped way up, and then rolled in the air. And I've never felt something that powerful up underneath me. And I felt like, I may be on him, but actually he's kind of on me.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
And when I rode him in about 4 or 5 seconds, and I remember hitting the ground face first. So he flung me up, and I did like a flip, and I landed on my face. And I remember I couldn't breathe, but the little breath that I took, I breathed in dust. It was like, oh God, that was the first thing. And then I heard the most terrifying noise up to that point in my life was the hoofs of the biggest animal I'd ever heard in my life. It was very intimidating to hear that. And it was right next to your head. I'm like, oh, I gotta get up now. I gotta get up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my retirement party too.
Yeah. Now, were you wearing one of the helmets, or were you helmetless in this situation?
No, we did it the manly way.
Yeah. The stupid way, whatever you want to call it.
Hey, no shot intended there at the guys that wear. I mean, that's the right way to do it. Wear something, as the guy two riders in front of me experienced. Wear that face mask and whatever else you got to wear to make sure that thing doesn't scare you up for life. But yeah, no, we did it the old school way.
So, from Rogers, where did you kind of get this love for music? Do you remember the first song that you heard, or the first artist you heard that was like, that's something that I want to do one day?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a household. My dad was a musician. He was a singer, and my grandpa, on both sides, were musicians, and some of my uncles played music. So we'd get get-togethers, on weekends. Some weekends when my grandpa and my dad wanted to get together and play music, and they'd beat on guitars from about 7 o'clock Friday night till about midnight Saturday night or Sunday night. So it would go, these little family get-togethers all weekend long, and they drank and they'd play, and that's where I kind of saw, their love for music, and I wanted to follow in that. I loved those times. I loved everything about watching that music, how good they were or not how good they were, and I always wanted to sing with them, and I always wanted to get up there and show what I got and sing a song or two with them, learn how to play the guitar like they play it, and loved that old school sound, man. I loved Marty Robbins. I love Merle Haggard and all the Ray Price and all the oldies, Willie Nelson, those guys, George Jones, and so I grew up around that. That was kind of the first part of my life where I remember. This is something I care about. This is something I really care about deeply, and I think it is kind of in a weird way in my blood because I see these generations before me handing that down, and their fathers were musicians too. So, and I come from bluegrassers on my mom's side, so that's, I don't know if bluegrass is the right word. Old time gospel / bluegrass. There's a different kind of, almost like hillbilly. Old time, a lot of I'll Fly Away, kind of bluegrass. I think no drummers, obviously just some string instruments and one percussive instrument, some kind of gut bucket or something like that. But yeah, that comes from a long line of musicians like that.
Yeah, it was there. So one of your influences, Merle Haggard. I've told him a couple times, I really think your sound is a modern Merle Haggard sound. You've got your first 3 albums are some of my favorite songs of all time.
Thank you.
Heavily underrated artist.
Appreciate that.
And in one of the songs I'm always talking about, No Time to Cry.
Yeah.
The saddest song of all time, not even close. Not even close. And in there, you made a comment. Well, they're really getting after it out there.
Yeah.
You made a comment about the first time you heard of Merle. But all that to say, I think your sound is that of a modern Merle Haggard, and I think it's a sound that's not played enough nowadays.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is missed out on.
I agree with you. Thank you for the amazing compliment. I appreciate that. I think Merle Haggard was one of a kind when it comes to connecting with a working class, middle America human being, man or woman, and that is the heartbeat of our country, possibly our world too. That the average person that goes to work, loves their family, loves God, loves their country, wants right in the world. I think Merle Haggard explained the toughness and the grit and the daily sadness, life experience, the tragedy of lives of the regular common people, and the softness and the love stories about regular common people. I think he was the best at that. That's a tremendous honor. Thank you so much for including me in a category like that. I love that when I'm at my top, when I'm at my limitations, I think people can identify that in my music because you hear it in my voice, something that's raw, that I believe with all my heart. It's not as fancy or slick as some of my other things that I've done vocally in the studio. Some things it's been shiny. It's been energetic. Sunny in 75 is a very positive song. It's very beachy. It's very Journey rock and roll a little bit. It's just a different vibe than No Time to Cry, which I think is a brilliant piece of writing by Iris DeMent. Iris DeMent. And I think that's actually a little apropos for the day we're having, the times we're having right now. It's just I think times like this make songs like that matter that much more. That song is about the world is a tragic place, and if you're not hearing sirens, you're hearing about it on the news, and my God, it's hard just to go in your front yard and sit down and take a drink of beer and just bite down and just bear it till the next thing happens. And Blaze Foley was a great writer about something like that. Clay pigeons. That's great songwriting, and great songwriting seems to show up when we really need music to touch us.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever you're putting together an album, I I know you probably have a list of songs, some that you've written yourself or some other people have written. So what goes into making choosing which songs to put on an album and which ones maybe to leave for down the road?
I think, choosing music for an album, I think we start with more of a question, like, what do we want to accomplish with this album? Do we want to just go for hits? Do we want just sales? Do we want to just have a radio sound? Do we want to have more of this since we had less of this in the last project? It's been a while since I've done this kind of song. I wrote a lot of this album, so that's one part of the narrative. I've always thought that at the end of the day, the number one criteria for making a great album is great songs. I don't care where they come from. I don't care who's cut them before. I don't care if I've written it or if somebody else has written it. I don't really care who wrote it. I think if a great song is something I believe in, something I can sell vocally, something that people can put themselves in this song with me through my voice, that's the song for me. And we'll build an album around things that are the meat of the...
Hey, what's going on, guys? Just want to take a second to tell you about Double B Hat Company. They're a sponsor of this podcast, and they have some pretty sick hats too. A great thing about Double B is if you go check out their stuff, one thing you're going to see is some of your favorite artists wear Double B hats, and including your favorite podcasters. Brett and I are sporting the Double B hats thanks to our friends at Double B Hat Company. So thank you again to Double B for sponsoring this podcast, and go get yourself a hat.
And albums like that, I've always believed that that's where you anchor the record. Mm-hmm. Like you have the meat, of the entree, and then you build out the flavors. You build out the complementary pieces, and that's where your radio songs come in. And sometimes you have album cuts that are off the wall, album cuts that that's not going to be played on the radio, and it's not altogether that serious, but it's a beautiful color to put in this painting. And that's when it comes to constructing an album. That's kind of the general idea that I have. Let's find the meat. Let's find the why. Mm-hmm. This is why we're going to do this record.
Yeah.
And this is what people will say is the center, the core of this project. And so let's build everything outside of that. Right now we're working on an album, a project that just started working on it a few months ago. And it'll take me a good while. I've started writing a lot. So I've started honing in what I'm going to write about, and I've got maybe 5 or 6 that I've kind of whittled down to, and I think there are 5 or 6 really great quality songs. Really great, unusual writing for me. I don't think I'm usually anything to write home about, no pun intended. But I usually don't think my songwriting is up there any further than the next guy, for the most part. But I've had a little bit of luck with getting some good ideas down on paper and getting some good melody hooks to go with them, and I think we got a little good groove that I'm in. And so I think I got a special project brewing with that narrative in mind.
Nice.
And we'll see. And it's country, and I think it relates to today. What's going on in the world today. Hopefully, gives people a little bit of hope in that world too.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta correct you there a little bit. What's a guy gotta do? And Cool to Be a Fool.
Yeah.
Great songs.
I appreciate it.
Great songs. Those first 3 albums, I know I already said it, but I'm not even kidding. The best 3 up there, the best 3 albums ever of all
Thank
time.
You.
Great albums.
I appreciate it.
You got the Revelation album is probably my favorite. The Shade, Singer in a Band. If I Ever Get Her Back. It's a sadder toned album for the most part. But even up to like Crickets, where you were talking about earlier with Sunny and 75 being like this different kind of song from some of that older stuff. I think it's important for artists to be able to do stuff like that, to have some kind of variation in their sound. And even on the Never Gets Old, I think, where you had the remix of Baby Got Back.
Yeah.
It's just a funny thing that, it shows creativity.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Some of the YouTube comments made me feel like I killed country music today.
There's an album
I disagree with, by the way.
There's an album that's not listed on here.
Okay.
It is the first album. from you. It's a self-titled project.
Oh yeah.
There is a couple snippets on YouTube that I was able to track down. One of them being Walmart Parking Lot Social Club. So was there a reason that album never got distributed out on the digital platforms?
I don't know. I don't know that it has been or hasn't been distributed. I think you can download that now, right?
I wasn't able to find it, but
Okay.
maybe I just didn't look in the right places either.
I think I might have it. Well, I don't know the ins and outs of why that would be. Let me see if I can find it. I'll tell you what. I'll look for it. But while I'm looking for that, that was done as an independent on an independent record label. The record label consisted of two people. There was the president of the label, and there was the other guy that did everything else. He was like everything. And so I'm looking for it. There, the early years. There it is. The early years.
Okay. So that's
So it's technically saying it's released in 2005.
Okay.
But that was the album I did in 1996.
okay.
They just re-released it to make it my new album, so they
Okay.
could kind of capture new sales in there. But yeah, that's it. I'm looking at some of these song titles, and it's hilarious to me. I wrote a lot of this album. There was some good tunes in there that I wrote. But yeah, that was fun. I got to make some music videos. Back then, CMT was a much bigger influence in making videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could watch around the clock. That was our social media, pretty much. That's how you engaged with artists and you got to know them and see them, was through CMT. And so you made videos, you got on that channel, you got interviews with that channel, and that was our social media hub before social media. And I did 4 off that record, and I lived on this little independent label that couldn't, we really couldn't make an impact at radio because it's so dominated by major labels. And we did pretty good for the little label we were on, but I like this album. We did it all in like 2 days. All the
Really?
vocals and everything. It's just, it's not tuned or anything. It's just raw. And here it is. It's, it's just, that's the way it is. We got a raw album we made in 2 days. My voice was gone for like a week after that. Couldn't talk. It was just, I gave everything I had.
Yeah. He showed me the Walmart Parking Lot Social Club video on the way up here, and I'm like, that's probably the most 90s thing I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely 90s. You got to go back to the other one with 6 1 half dozen of the other. Also a very 90s looking video up on this big, a funny set of these big dice, and I've got my hat and my long flowing hair. I didn't have a mullet, but it was all one length, and it was so 90s. But we were all wearing, we had our 90s look, man. It was. I'll tell you this. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I wish young people got a chance to see that era. That the 90s and see the fun we had. We didn't know we would look ridiculous, in 20 years. But at that time, we thought we were pretty cool. And we had fun, man. That was a fun decade. And then, the early 2000s was a fun decade too. But something about the 90s felt really fun to me. We got, we had a lot of fun, especially in country music. We played in... We played circuits. You could play 5 or 6 nights a week at the same bar where people don't come out, Monday through Sunday, and they do line dancing. You come in and you play your covers that everybody else did, and maybe your couple of your originals that only that region of the country knew. That was your regional hits. That's where the something Armadillos. I can't remember those guys, but a lot of regional successful bands would compete for all the big clubs, and so if your band was recognizable, you were the big draw in, say, Oklahoma City. That would be, I think back then there was a big country bar here, the Twister or something like that, or whatever it was. I want to say Caravan sounds familiar, but there was one here, and everybody wanted to play. All the big names, the club bands were the cool band names, and they, just played throughout the regions. And man, these places would sell, they pack the house.
Yeah.
Pack the house, and get paid a couple grand for the week or four grand for the week, and that bar would make tens of thousands of dollars on the business that you'd bring in, and and you know, the dancing was awesome. You know, people engaged in dancing and all that kind of stuff, and it was just a fun time. We just had a cool thing going in the 90s, and that kind of drifted away. You know, the 2000s came along, and it was more about concerts and downloading music than it was, you know, going out with your favorite CDs and you know, you get your CD pack, put it in the truck, you're going to the club, you're going to do some dancing, you know, going to see your favorite band play, but they'll be here tomorrow night too, so you know, maybe they'll do my request tomorrow night. I don't know. It's such a fun little time.
Is there a music video, because you've done a lot of music videos over the years too, is there one that was like your favorite to do?
My favorite music video to do was probably Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off. Just wasn't really much work involved, really. It was so fun. They were just, the idea was, hey man, we got this mansion we've rented out. We're thinking we're going to put a bunch of, you know, bikini, you know, hot girls in bikinis and a bunch of dudes, you know, they're having a party, and we're going to make it like a house party. And you know, the grandma, she'll play your grandma, she'll leave, and when she comes back, y'all got a little crazy, and then she gets a little crazy with you and does the streaking thing, which was a funny story in itself. You know, that lady really did get naked. She wasn't supposed to. She's got these pasty things that covered her nipples and a G-string thing, and that's kind of all they told me. Like, she's kind of getting naked, but you know, it'll be covered. I'm like, okay. So the video, that is my real face, because when she pulled everything out, it was like all of it, and I was like, oh God, you didn't do it right. I'm pretty sure you didn't do this right. You're gonna have to stop. And she was so outgoing. She was funny. She was a French lady, so she was like, I don't care. Let's have fun. It's a pool party. And I'm like, damn. This lady is who I want to be when I'm like 90. I'm going to be this lady. Let's give cigarettes to babies. I don't care. It's
That's great.
She's crazy.
Oh my God.
That was a fun
That's
day.
hilarious.
That's something that, like, I feel like today is missed a lot, because I feel like music videos aren't as prominent. Like, obviously people still do music videos, but I feel like there's not that production. And man, when I was growing up, like, CMT was like, they had the top 20 countdown, and you just sit there and watch all hour. They just go through all your favorite songs, and they'd get to number one. Which one was number one this week? Yeah. And it'd be like whoever with for the second week in a row. And that was always just fun to go and like watch those videos, because you get to hear the song and you see the story with it sometimes too. Yeah. I think that's something that I really miss about
Me too.
country music.
Yeah, I do too, man. And it's a good way to, you know, to see the production of the song too, the song and a visual interpretation of it. You know, that it's one thing to hear it on the radio and have an imagination of what that would look like, and it's another thing to see some great actors, some big names in acting, and you know, them coming along. And I remember Ricky Schroeder talking to that guy. Remember Ricky Schroeder? He's the champ. Yeah. He was in Lonesome Dove.
Yes.
He had talked about doing one of my videos, and he's like, man, we can do this, and we can get this guy in here and this guy in here. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to cost a fortune. And he's like, no, we're all friends. We can do it. We'll just, you know, $10,000, we'll put a video together. I'm like, well, but you know, I do miss that about country music. We did used to make videos. I know they were expensive, but nowadays we don't make them because they're expensive, and the return labels have kind of decided that, you know, we're not making enough money on videos to justify spending that money where we could spending on social media stuff, which is, you know, returning money, you know, the streams and all that kind of stuff. But it is something that I wish we had a better system for, you know, that we could make videos and still had a top 20 countdown. And, you know, that was just a fun thing, man. It was something that kind of gave you an idea of what was happening on the chart too. It was kind of a precursor to what was coming up. And so, it did a lot of good, but, you know, like everything else, social media ruined that.
I'll tell you who had some great music videos too, Toby Keith.
Oh, yeah, some of the best.
Great music videos.
That How Do You Like Me Now video was awesome. I love that one,
One that always sticks out is Bullets in the Gun. It was one of his later videos, but it was such a great video, because like it's like them stealing the money, and at the end, they all get, it's like a shootout in the end. Yeah.
Randy Houser did one that was really good, like a cowboy. Is that what it was called? Yeah, like a cowboy. It's almost like a big movie production. Toby had a whiskey for my beer for my horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had some good ones. Red Solo Cup. I was in that one. Yeah, that was one.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I was in a bathtub and just naked as a jaybird and a Red Solo Cup, like having a party, just suds and everything. It wasn't like that. It was like naked, like how you doing?
Yeah.
It was just kind of suds filling the bathtub and like I'm having my Red Solo Cup.
I'm about
Yeah.
to go back and watch
Yeah.
that now because it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, I was in there. It was like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Singing the song. Yeah.
So your newest project that's out, Honky Tonks and Country Songs, you've got a song on there with Miss Annie Bosco.
Yeah.
So how did that all come about? I've been seeing her everywhere. I'm a huge Dwight Yoakam fan, and she just did a song
Love
with
it.
Dwight, did a
Yeah.
song with you. So how did that kind of come about?
Well, she was signed to the record label I just signed to. Benny Brown said, "Man, I just signed this lady. I think she's, super talented and she has a deep connection to the old school country music stuff. And she does, help me make it through the night. A lot of this old stuff, some Willie Nelson and some older Chris Christopherson stuff, and just had an appreciation for that. And so I met her. We did a show together in El Paso, and I thought, man, this is awesome. I love her. She's great singer, great entertainer, beautiful woman. She's a songwriter, and so Benny Brown, the president of the label, said, "How would you like to do a duet with her? When we find the right song." I said, "That makes sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. For a lot of different reasons. But it also didn't hurt that you got this supermodel looking woman in your video. A lot of guys are going to watch that video, and those stream numbers go way up. But she's a hoot, man. She's a great one. I wish that song would have lasted longer on the radio, but there's some things that are just not in our control. And I hate to sound like that. It's kind of a defeatist kind of language, but some things work, some things don't. And the things that I've worked, that have worked really for me, that's not all my doing. Some of it was just really good timing, and the stars aligned just right. And we had, good people with great leadership all throughout my world in 360 degrees that were efficient and worked their tails off. Like Brokenheartsville was a great song to put out there. Great song, rolled up the chart. It really was smoking on record sales. It really launched my career to a different place after the Impossible, started things off. Brokenheartsville was pushing me to the top of everything. Yeah. And, at some point that would have died had it not been for good leadership that strategized how we attacked the last 10 weeks of this single. Rather than settle for a top 10, which maybe somebody will forget about. We really need to maximize our strategy and give everything we can to make sure this gets up close to number one. Whether it does is kind of a crapshoot. But they had a plan, and all the people that sit in the office and don't have their names on my music on those album covers, those people did some doing. They took this market here and that market here, and they worked it where they could be spun in just the right place. And before you knew it, we were sitting at number 2. And that's about all we could expect for that song, because the Dixie Chicks had this song called Traveling Soldier. And it was at number 1 for like 6 weeks in a row, and it was still growing. So we were maybe 2,000 or 3,000 spins behind that song for the week, and that was our peak week. And something catastrophic had to have happened before we'd ever got a chance for a number 1 song. And so we were bummed that Brokenheartsville wasn't going to go number 1. And then on Monday, news started circulating that the Dixie Chicks had made some kind of comment in England about the President of the United States. And country music did not take lightly that offense. And so a lot of program directors just yanked all of their music off their stations immediately. So that song was thousands of spin in front of the number 2 record, Brokenheartsville, and every day it came down like 500 spins. We gained 200, we'd gain 400, we'd gain 600.
Wow.
And before you know, and by the way, and a song was coming up from behind us that was the fastest rising song in decades. And it was this little song called Have You Forgotten? And so Have You Forgotten was this big song, a tribute to 9/11. And after like 4 weeks, it's sitting at number 3. I mean, it was something ridiculous. 4 or 6 weeks, it's sitting there and it's growing like tremendously. I think when it got to number 1, it eventually stayed there for like 9 weeks. So I'm at number 2. I got the hottest record in decades coming up behind me at number 3. I got the free fall of Dixie Chicks at number 1, just falling like a rock.
Yeah.
And when the chart stopped printing at midnight Sunday night, my manager said, you got in by like 100 points. It was like you got in by this many spins, like skin of your teeth, basically, just barely the skin of your teeth. And I got my first Billboard number. Impossible was a number 1, but it was on the other chart. So my first Billboard number 1, and that was a pretty special moment. That was divine intervention right there. We couldn't have got that lucky if we tried. So something had to make that happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Joe, we cannot thank you enough for taking some time to sit down with us. This has been one we've been wanting to do for a long time, so we appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's been a blast talking to you. So
Likewise,
thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Like what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.